Hey everybody, Kyle here with Prescott Spice Company, and I'm going to show you guys how to do a prime rib today. Now this is one of people's favorite cuts of beef. It is the epitome of what a good family dinner is like, especially around the holidays. But really, anytime's a good time for prime rib. So first, what we're gonna do, I'm gonna show you guys how I'm gonna season this guy. Now, when it comes to the seasoning, people can get wild with it and get crazy with it, but we gotta understand, why are we even seasoning this thing? And essentially what we wanna do is incorporate the most amount of flavor we can in this. Best to do it usually 24 to 48 hours beforehand. And the reason for that is you're gonna get things like the salt that's in the seasoning and the other flavors. It's gonna dissolve right into the meat and it's gonna absorb. It's almost like it's providing this cure for it. And this is also known as a dry brine. And so doing this, you're gonna get tender, flavorful beef and you won't be disappointed. Now, before I get going on that, I also want to give a big shout out and thank you to K4 Gourmet Beef, who supplied the meat for our shoot today. They have been a great people to work with, and they wanted to see what we can do with their beef to make it special. So we're going to use some of our stuff and make something incredible with a prime rib. Let's get going. I'm going to use our smoked salt. Now this one is smoked for 48 hours with alderwood. It provides a great smoky flavor, and it's really going to elevate it. I'm also going to use some freshly crushed black pepper. Now, black pepper is one of those ingredients that just goes so well on everything. It helps marry everything together. Also going to be using granulated garlic. Man, garlic just is, it's a love language in the kitchen. Who doesn't like it? Something a little different, but really good. A little bit of cumin, and really a little bit of cumin goes a long way. Now, people can get wild and put all sorts of different flavors and stuff on this, and that's cool. But we're gonna keep it relatively simple today, because if you cook the meat right, then you don't need to get crazy elaborate with all these other things to mask that flavor. We ultimately want the beef to shine. That's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna just start and sprinkle just a good amount, a good coating of the smoked salt. And then we're gonna get our black pepper. Then get your garlic. Now when it comes to the seasonings that you use, the salt and the pepper are the most important ones that you're putting on here as far as the quantity of them. The other ones, you want them to accent, but you don't want them to really overpower or be the star, because we want to keep the beef the star of the show. And now one of the things that makes the K4 beef the star of the show is this is a company that's been around for generations. Generation after generation, these people grew up on this cattle farm, and ultimately they've known how to make the best beef around. World-class beef isn't something that's just something you can pull out of nowhere. It comes from all the experience that they have. And so they actually have their cattle pasture raised, and then they finish them with grain. And the reason they finish it with grain is it provides the better marbling for the meat and better flavor. I know some people have been talking about 100% grass-fed, and if you get 100% grass-fed all the way to the end, what happens is the extra sugars that are in the grain at the end are not going to be there to provide that good marbling, which turns out to be the good flavor we enjoy. So when you are putting the seasoning on, you just pat it in a little bit, just so it doesn't fall off. Then we're going to turn it and do the same thing. A little bit of salt, followed by some pepper, a little bit of garlic, and a touch of cumin. All right, so now that we got our prime rib seasoned, now it's time to stash this guy in the fridge. The best way to do this is not to wrap it up all tight in like plastic or foil or something like that, or even put it in a container, but using paper towels and wrapping it in paper towels allows it to breathe while taking the excess liquid that's coming out and deal with that appropriately. And then it's really going to give you the maximum flavor. So we're gonna wrap it up in paper towels, stash it in the fridge, and then we'll show you how to cook it. Welcome back. Now that we've had our prime rib seasoned, it's been in the fridge, wrapped in those paper towels for 48 hours. Now we're ready to cook this bad boy. And what we're gonna do to cook this, we're gonna do a reverse sear. And so that means we're gonna cook it low and slow to start. And then after it's done doing that, we're gonna let it rest and then get to the sear. So I've got it here in a cast iron, because cast iron is always wonderful to cook with. And we're gonna put this in a oven at 225. Now, 225, people might say, well, if it weighs this much, it might take this amount of time. And there are some general rules of thumb that can be helpful, but ultimately what you wanna do is cook with a probe thermometer. They are worth every penny you spend on them, because that's gonna let you know what's happening inside the meat. So if you want your meat at a perfect medium rare, then you're not gonna achieve that without knowing the temperature inside. So it's vitally important, get a good thermometer, make sure you know what's happening inside. Now we're gonna pop it in, 225. All right, so I got them in the oven here, and here's our trusty probe thermometer we've been talking about. And we're gonna just try to aim for right in the middle of the meat. Now it's gonna let us know what it's doing the whole step of the way. And if you want something that's a good medium rare, I would aim for probably about 130. You could do a little higher, but don't do too high. And here's the reason. You have a big piece of meat and it's cooking in a hot space. And what happens is there's carryover. So after it comes out of the oven, it will continue to cook. And since it's a large piece of meat, think of like a freight train. Trying to stop that thing takes a lot of effort because it's got a lot of momentum. So a large piece of meat is gonna have a lot of that heat momentum. Now we are cooking it slow, so that's gonna slow down that momentum, but you don't wanna cook it all the way to your target, because then you're gonna find it a little more cooked than you wanted. So we'll aim for about 130 here. All right, now that our meat has reached the target temp, it's time to pull it out of the oven. All right, now comes a really crucial part. We need to talk about resting our meat. Now, this is really critical if you want the best flavors to happen and the best cook to happen. Have you ever had one of those experiences that was a steak that seemed really great on the outside, and then it was cooked so much that only the very center of it was the medium rare that you were hoping for? Well, by resting the meat, what we're gonna do is slow down that cooking process that was just happening. And before we get to the sear, what that's gonna accomplish is it's gonna keep more of that inside, that nice medium rare that we're looking for. So after we rest it, I'd give it 15 to 20 minutes. And then after we do that, we're gonna sear it. And then there's gonna be another rest before eating. But trust me, there is reward in the waiting. So we're gonna rest our meat, then we'll get to searing. All right, so now that our prime rib is out of the oven and it's rested, now we're ready to sear it. I like searing on this guy. It's a 100,000 BTU burner, because this is gonna give us that restaurant quality sear that we all know and love. Now, if you don't have one of these guys, then use whatever the hottest burner available to you is. Now, in comparison, most burners that you're gonna find in a stove inside are gonna be in the 30s thousands. Really nice ones might be like 40,000. So those really don't get quite hot enough to do that really good sear, but they'll still do a decent job. Just make sure to leave like the cast iron, get it really hot and flaming, make sure it's really ready to go. And now when we do this, we're only gonna need to put it on for about 45 seconds aside. It's gonna go pretty quick. Yeah, look at that sear. Isn't that beautiful? All right, now that we got this seared on all sides, now it's ready to rest it for the second time. And your rest will be rewarded. All right, now that we got our prime rib almost there, we're gonna make a killer au jus sauce that is gonna pair with it really wonderfully. Now we're gonna use our balsamics that we get imported from Italy, incorporated into it. And let me show you how we do that. It's gonna start with using the drippings from the cook. So we're gonna take our drippings and we're gonna put them over medium heat into a pan. Then we're gonna take 1 1/4 cup of beef stock and we're gonna add that to it. Now we're just gonna scrape up all the little bits that come from the pan drippings. And we're gonna wait for this to come to a simmer and let it simmer for a couple of minutes. All right, now that this is simmered for a few minutes, now it's time to add the balsamics. Now the balsamics we're gonna use today, I have a caramelized onion balsamic by Ramodna and a chocolate and coffee balsamic also by Ramodna. Now these are made right in Italy and are the world's best balsamics you can get. When we use the caramelized onion and the chocolate and coffee, the chocolate and coffee is that flavor that's gonna give it a different kind of twist than we might be used to. And yet it's really gonna add this depth of flavor to it that's gonna be fantastic. Think of having a mole and they incorporate chocolate into it, not for chocolate flavor, but for depth in the dish. That's exactly what this is gonna do. So we're gonna do 3 tablespoons of each one. All right, now that the balsamic's in there, we're just gonna stir this around. And now what we're looking to do to make a really nice and flavorful au jus is we just want it to reduce by about half till it's nice and glossy. And that is probably gonna take at least another 5 minutes, maybe up to 10, but it will be wonderful. It's also a great thing to do this while the meat's resting. Since we have to give it that 20-minute rest anyway, hey, we got the time, so no worries. All right, now that our meat has rested, now it's ready to cut into it. And prime rib, yeah, you can go to a place and order a kind of a thickness that you like. So feel free to cut as much off as you like. The best knives to use this are long, straight edge knives, not serrated knives. And the reason for that is if you're using a serrated knife, it can actually grab a hold of some of the meat and then almost rip it. And so you lose a lot of that really nice crust when that happens. But the nice straight edge will give you a nice, perfect cut. All right, so check out this cut. Now, I was telling you guys to get that perfect doneness so that you don't have a whole lot of cooked meat on the inside and you get the maximum amount of that medium rare that you're looking for, or rare, or what have you. I'm gonna point out how the cook happened here. Now you get this beautiful dark crusted outside. That's flavor right there. That's an amazing part. But that medium rare, look, it goes almost all the way to the edge. And that gray strip of the cooked meat is really, really small. This is how you want to have your prime rib done. All right, so our au jus has reduced, and now we're ready for the final step. So you can cut the heat. We don't need that anymore. And we're gonna add a couple of tablespoons of butter. Why? Because everybody loves butter. Now we add the butter, and we're gonna stir this in and just let it melt and marry with all these other flavors. Now, one of the reasons that we're adding the butter in right here is that fat content that the butter is going to bring really adds a whole lot to the mouthfeel. You know, when something just feels really delicious in your mouth and it has the right consistency and texture, that's what the butter is doing here. And the flavor that it's going to add to our prime rib will blow your mind. All right, now that our au jus is done, our prime rib is ready to eat. So I hope you enjoy this recipe, and stay tuned because we're gonna have more recipes coming. And again, big shout out to K4 for sponsoring this prime rib. Check out K4. They got their storefront just down Gurley Street near Plaza, or you can check them out online at gourmetbeef.com. If you're interested in any of our spices or the balsamics and you wanna make this yourself, or you wanna find the recipe, check us out at prescottspicecompany.com. We'll see you next time.